this saved out. Let's go ahead and save that as some reference. I don't think I'll be able to show you this reference because I don't know if there's going to be any spoilers in them. Okay, got all four up. We got this going. Let's go ahead and load up our file here. If you've been not paying attention, if you've been following along, we've been doing some of this old man and then little Westworld stuff. So you just go in here to videos, or if you go in here to playlist, I usually have it pretty well organized on my YouTube channel. Wait for it. Oh, there it is. It was already on there. So full playlist on the Livestream full episodes. You can kind of step through the last three, I think, is probably where we're going to start from. So I'll go ahead and put this right here. And one thing I am going to need, though, is my tablet pen. There it is. Oh, and you also know what? I need to plug in my tablet. Sorry, I've been swapping between 3 computers the last couple weeks, or God, months. I forget. Time's getting weird. There we go. Okay, so we're going to go to streaming here. Actually, yeah. Let's see if this one's right. Can't remember if I did a file open or if I did a Z project or a. This is all marketing stuff. Yeah, I think I'll need the marketing stuff. Okay, so this will work, and let's go ahead and fill out the rest of this guy. So in case you missed it, okay, let's go ahead and move this down. I assume you guys can hear me. Hey everybody, hey from India. Wake up here. Let's see if I can do it. Okay, so if I load up Photoshop here, I think we kind of left off just doing some Photoshop stuff. It's basically splitting this guy's head open, so I'm going to make sure this is the right file. Let's go ahead and select this here. Yeah, so all these pieces kind of feather open like so. This is mini streaming. Details, sort by date modified, composite. Nope. Now let's see if I can just do this. Okay, so we're going to turn on polyframe here, hit W, Alt tap these, and these are all just separate subtools here. So when I pop this thing open, hopefully there's a little mechanical doodad underneath here. So I'm going to go through here, and I'm just going to start getting rid of pieces of the face here. And would you look at that, we do have some mechanical stuff going on. So we're going to go ahead and flesh out the rest of the body here, and it should go pretty quick, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave just kind of a little bib right around here. So I'm going to see if I can't repurpose a bit of this, kind of like we did last episode here. So let's get started. Hold down Shift, touch the eyeball, turn everything else off, and then I'm just going to pop off again just kind of a bib area through here. So let's go ahead and just mask out the area that we want to keep. And we'll just kind of go through here and then around the back. We'll say we want to keep all this here. And actually, let's go ahead and duplicate this off because I am going to use this as a starting point for kind of finishing out really quickly. I don't think it'll take too long. And I'm going to go ahead and isolate. Oops, let's go ahead and turn off this one. This one here, and let's go in here to display properties, turn off double. And we'll just go through here and we'll mask out the area we want to keep. Now we do have details on here, and I do want to add thickness and project the details back to that, so we're going to use history project for that. And so then Control Alt and tap on our mesh to kind of make that mask a little sharper. And I think this will work. And let's go down here. Alrighty. Okay, let's see if I remember how to do this. So, and if you want to blur this out, if you want to like Control tap to blur it out a bit, and then Control Alt tap to bring it back, that can sometimes have a kind of smoothing effect on that line as well. So if we go through here and we say geometry, think. So I've got this part masked out, and I basically want to keep this, and, well, at this point, I don't really care if I keep reconstruct. I don't need to, like, go lowest, because what we could do is we could have gone to the lowest subdivision level and then seen if I could, like, take a line across here and use that. In this case, I don't really need to do that. So what I'm going to do instead is, okay, that's fine. Let's go to lowest here, and let's also go down here to our, well, you know what, let's do this. Let's, sorry, I'm, like I said, I'm trying to wake up. So I'm going to take this polygroup here. And the cool thing about having polygroups like this, obviously you want these things a little bit smoothed out if you're going to be zero meshing it. And that's why generally I'll go in here to edge loop, and I'll do an edge loop mask border, because this is the result you'll get if you have a mask here. It'll kind of go through, let's go ahead and delete higher. It'll kind of go through and slice, but you're going to see it's still kind of crummy. Another thing you can do that same method if you wanted to, but I'm going to hit Control W, give myself a new polygroup. Then I go in here to the smooth brushes, LMNOPQRS, smooth, and we're going to go in here to smooth groups. And then now when I hold down Shift, you can see I have smooth groups option available. And now when I go through here, I can actually just smooth those groups. Now you could go through here and you could like mask polygroup border and then smooth it that way. But this is a good way just to kind of go through and kind of clean up these lines. So now we have this. Let's go ahead and say delete hidden. And one thing I don't want to mess around with, I guess, is these vert positions here. What you could try and do, and also looks like we got some weird interior faces. Let's go in here to Zmodeler Brush. We'll just say delete a single poly here. It's like they're kind of flipped around. Not a huge deal, and Zero Mesher will take care of this too if we choose to go Zero Mesher route. But we're going to go ahead and say stitch 2 points with our Zmodeler Brush. We'll go ahead and stitch those together just so we get an uninterrupted border. And then if I don't really want to change these vert positions, there might be a couple options for us. So let's go in here to Zero Mesher, and if I go in here to freeze border and then Zero Mesh half, it'll try and lower it while also freezing those border verts. I don't know that I need to do that. Let's just see if I Zero Mesh half. I think that'll be okay. Let's go ahead and turn this one back on. Yeah, you know what? I mean, it kind of separates a little bit, but I can just manually go through and move that about. I think we'll be okay. So I'm going to have both of these showing, and there's two things I can do. I can either project history or I can project to the subtool. Because I've already got the subtool sitting there, I'll go ahead and just project to that subtool. So let's go ahead and turn polyframe off, and I'm going to go in here to project all. We'll have geometry and color on. But I think that's just for project history. Project geometry, yes. Oh, project all or project history. So both of them. Then we'll hit project all, and we'll say always yes. Boom, there you go. So now we're getting polypaint data and this. And it also looks like it wants to really project skin material. So I'm going to Alt-Tap this one here, and we're going to go in here and we're going to say material. I can just drag off this material and just grab that skin. And then M, color, fill object at 100. Should all be skin material, but it should be about right. And then this one here looks like it had some metal on it. So we're just going to go again, color, fill object with material turned on. And then we'll just do another project all. And I got project all somewhere in here in my custom menu. If you want more information on custom menus, you can go to my YouTube channel or my ArtStation page, and then in here, ZBrush for ideation. There's 55 videos just to kind of get up and running on the basics of ZBrush, and you can check that out. And that'll go over, I think custom menus is, I don't know, 30, 40, somewhere in there. Hey everybody. Oh, Australia, India. My gosh. See, is this posting? Yeah, cool. Right on. And we'll keep moving along. Okay, so we've got our detailed object here. We're projecting the details back, and we want to go ahead and give this some thickness. Not so much that I'm intending to. I'm trying to think. I'm not really intending to like go through here and like split this thing off or anything. It's not going to open up. this is going to kind of be just a skin flap down here. So I'm trying to think, ideally what I'd like to do is go through here and just say close convex hull and just kind of cap this off. That would be ideal for me, just because I don't have to worry about like thin surfaces or anything, but not that I'm going to be doing a tremendous amount of sculpting on this. But I'm afraid, since I'm going to be putting an endoskeleton underneath here, that it might interfere in undesirable ways. So what I'm going to do is go down here instead, and we'll turn on our polyframe. I'm going to say, let's go down here to extrude all polygons. The reason I do extrude is if I'm going to extrude inwards especially, it's going to start getting a little bit crunchy in the tight areas, and it might have a Q-mesher might have a tendency to kind of start sticking things together unpredictably. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this in a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and display properties flip. So we have this polygroup, an inside polygroup, and a ring polygroup. So one thing I do want to do is I'm going to go ahead and sample this color right here just by hitting C while hovering over it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and say color fill object. And then now you might be saying, oh, you got rid of that RGB information. It wasn't really that useful if I wanted to get it back. I have this polyframe, so I can hold down Control Shift, isolate this polyframe. I can just do another project all with just that showing, and then it'll get that RGB information back. But what we need to start doing now is subdividing this up. So let's go ahead and I'm going to say crease polygroup underneath our geometry crease menu, crease PG. And so that way, as I start subdividing, it's going to keep these edges nice and crispy. So we're going to hit Control D. And then again, I'm going to isolate just this top one here, and we're going to say project all, Control Shift Tab to bring everything else back, and let's take a quick look. Looks like this one is not wanting to play along nicely. We'll help it out. We'll help it out. In fact, it looks like the other side is slightly different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit X to go out of X symmetry. I'm going to mask the side I like. We're going to go down here to deformation, smart resim across the x-axis. We're just going to copy those vert positions over. So now let's turn X symmetry back on. Pull this out. Pull this down maybe a little bit. Yeah, it's not grabbing. That's okay. We'll help it out. So when I Z-remeshed, it kind of melted a little bit and kind of went inside the mesh in some areas. Not a huge deal. All I need to do is get it closer to the verts I want to snap it to. And then now if I isolate and do a project all, that should hopefully do a slightly better job. There we go. Perfect. So now we're just working our way up to subdivision levels. So let's go into solo mode while we do this. As long as this eyeball is visible on my original mesh, it should be fine. So I'm going to hold down Control Shift, ISO. Let's go ahead and Control D, which is going to subdivide once. Isolate this one, project all. Now the other side's having problems. It's all right. Let's go ahead and, oh, you know what? Maybe I didn't have X symmetry on when I did that. No big deal. Smart resim across the x-axis. X symmetry turned on. And now I'm starting to wonder if this one's symmetrical. That's fine. Okay, so Control D, isolate, project all. Look at that. Okay. And then if I want to see if I'm getting all the detail, I can go through and just flip between them. It might be a little hard to tell with polypaint on, so I'm going to hold down Shift and turn off these little paint brushes. And we'll go to white, and we'll grab our startup material here. So here's our new mesh. Here's our original mesh. Let's see, I got some more detail underneath here, might be easier to see. Yeah, I think we need one more subdivision. So Control D, isolate, and oops, let's turn on polypaint again. And we'll say project all. Okay, and then turn these off. Solo, looks good, looks good. So at this point, I'm going to use that for something else, the original. But let's go ahead and make sure that everything's a-okay. So I'm going to go back up here, and we're just going to turn on the bottom part of the jaw here, and anything else that might be attached. There we go. So now it's pretty close. Like I said, the Z-remesher maybe melted a little bit, but we can manually go through and fix that. So I'm going to turn off this high res here. Unmask. Oh, that's another thing I forgot to do last time too, is when I went through and creased, I should have creased this edge right here, just because that actually creased to an angle. But I can go in here with my Move Acu, and actually in this case, I might be able to go down here. Let's go down to Subdivision Level 1, and just pull that here, and then we'll step up through our Subdivision Levels. And again, it looked like it really wanted to go inside in this area here. That's okay. We can alleviate some of that. All the way back up. And in here, if I want to smooth without RGB turned on, I can go through here, and then I'll leave my poly pane alone, and then I can just go through here and fix this. Yeah, it seems like all of a sudden. And I split this. I didn't go through the steps perfectly. I didn't think ahead quite enough, so it's not going to be as seamless as I like. I could do a pass where I go through and I merge everything together and do a seamless pass and then reproject my poly paint, my geometry information. But in this case, I'm not overly worried about it, just for demonstration purposes. But if I did want to manually go through and kind of push this back, I do have my original sitting there. So I could conceivably, let's go through here and smooth this out just a bit. We have smooth groups turned on still. Let's go ahead and switch this back to just a regular old smooth brush. Now, my regular old smooth brush actually has, it's not as regular and as old as the actual one. If we go in here, oops, down here to our smooth brush modifiers, hold down shift. My weighted smooth mode is set to 1. That is smooth stronger. And then I hold down shift and drop that Z intensity down. Just in case you're following along and your smooth isn't quite as reactive as mine. Okay, so like we did last time, let's go ahead and we'll turn on our original mesh here and go to BZP, the Z Project brush. And then again, with just these two subtools showing, I could go through here and use this to kind of hold down Alt and just pull right along that surface just to get that to match up. And then I can let go of Alt to kind of push it back. Although in this case, let's go ahead and turn on auto masking backface, so I'm not pushing through. Oh, and another thing you're going to want to do is make sure you have X symmetry off, because that camera projection will really mess you up good. But since you guys already know the smart resim trick, it'll be easy enough to go ahead and get your symmetry back. So again, we're just pushing and pulling along this original geometry just to kind of match up these seam lines here. This is useful if you had any errors as well. And then once you have that cleaned up, what you can do is you have this mesh, and we already know that we like this side, so we have X symmetry turned off, and then we could just do a smart resim. Now, when I generally do this, I'll drop down to like a lower subdivision, and then I'll do a smart resim, and then I'll just kind of step up. Let's go ahead and turn these down here. So you can see me step up, and then smart resim, step up, and then smart resim. X symmetry back on, and let's go ahead and turn all this back on. And we'll start just getting the rest of the body fleshed out real quick. So I'm actually going to be converting this body to more mechanically stuff, like what's inside of his head. So I'm not going to be too particular about anything other than the volumes that I'm going to need. So I'm going to hold down Shift, turn this off, and now I have to ask myself, do I need this for anything really? And I'm going to say no. So I can always go back to a previous save file if I want to. Go ahead and save 04. And you know what? Let's do this. Mechanical body. And then since again, I'm just going to use this basically volume information. I'm just going to go ahead and just Dynamesh this. Don't need any frozen subdivisions or anything like that. And in fact, let's go ahead and drop that resolution considerably. I'm just looking for something easy base mesh to work with. I don't need a whole ton of information there. Drew has a question. Did you sculpt that entire bust then split into subtools? Be gentle and new. Yeah, of course. I don't usually fly off the handle this early in my live stream. But no, if you want to go back and actually watch me make the whole thing, right here under live stream full episodes, we actually start from scratch. We actually start from a sphere, making this old guy, and then we split up the face into its little mechanical components here. So you can go through here and you can kind of see that whole process and the polypaint process and making the mechanical bits inside. So yeah, the last 3 in that playlist will kind of walk you through all that good stuff. It's not on my ArtStation yet. I don't generally post my live streams on ArtStation, although maybe I should, or maybe on ZBrushCentral.com I should start a thread. That might actually be a smarter idea. How do you shape the mask? Just hold down Control, and then you can just kind of paint a mask wherever you want. How do you do the texturing from Zbrush to Marmoset? I kind of have a little bit of that down here. Well, in this playlist here, there's speed modeling and texturing where we go right into Substance Painter, and then from Substance Painter you can just export your textures and throw those into Marmoset. If you want more on the, that's not the only place, like the Sci-Fi Weapon Pistol series is kind of an automated way. The Houdini Game Dev Toolset is a Houdini walkthrough to get your maps, and then way up here at the Mechanical Skull series, we got 3 of them in here. This one might be easier, so if you go into the Mechanical Skull series in here, this shows you, here's how I did the skull, and then here's how I did the Substance Painter texturing, and here's how I did the Marmoset rendering from Substance Painter. So I don't have everything in here. If you want the entire series, it's on Gumroad. You can see the high-res mechanical, the painter, and the rendering is free, and that's basically this entire thing here. So if you go to my ArtStation page and click on that mechanical skull, that walks through at least the painter and the Marmoset stuff, and then everything else you can kind of find in here. Like I said, the Auto Game Dev Toolset, ZBrush 4R8, what's new? Oh no, Sci-Fi Weapon Process. I'm trying to think if anything else in here has anything game related or baking maps related, and etc. So cool. Mike, do you plan on doing critique sessions like T.S. Whittlebach in the future? Your soothing voice would fit the harsh truth perfectly. I could. Let me think about that. I generally, I do enjoy like taking. I don't know if I like critiquing stuff that much, but I do really enjoy taking other people's models and kind of playing with them. In fact, oh, that's not on ArtStation 2 either. So basically, if you go to my live stream full episodes, this shark. We did a couple live streams, I thought, yeah, with this shark here, and it basically started with just somebody from my Discord channel. Speaking of, I haven't been on my Discord channel in forever. I basically took their model and then just kind of riffed off of it and did just like a big mean shark, and then I sliced it up and made it puffy. And we did some little key shot rendering, which we may do today. That'd be fun. Cool. Excellent. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. And like I said, let's finish this guy out. There's a lot of different ways we could do this. If we wanted to go in here to like BI brush insert body parts here, or I would take maybe some scan data. We could grab a whole male arm and just kind of get these into place. We could do it manually as well. Again, since I'm looking for volumes, it's probably not that difficult to do. Let me go ahead and load in. Oops. Let me see. Think. If I really wanted to go fast, which maybe I do, I'll grab this guy here, and we got his body selected. I'm going to go in here to append here, and now this body is way out of whack with my ZBrush scale, so I'm just going to go down here to my deformation, just hit unify with that body selected, and just kind of narrow him down a little bit. And then we can go through here, and we can kind of match this guy up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this pivot down to about his feet area. I'll go ahead and scale him up. and then move him down like so. And maybe scale him down just a bit. There we go. So we've got his head, and we'll go ahead and do some head measurements really quickly, just to make sure he's a-okay. Now, again, if I wanted to move real fast, I'd probably just start with the base body and whittle it down from there. And in fact, let's go ahead and just do a mirror and weld across here, and we'll drop. We don't. Again, we're just looking for volumes here, so I'm just going to drop this down to Subdivision level 1, delete higher, mirror and weld. So if we move this down, now his head, it's I got it generally in the right place. But if you wanted to make sure that you're working with the correct head units here, I'm going to hit W, go into our Gizmo mode, and I'm going to hit Y to go into out of Gizmo mode up here, and we're going to go into transpose, and we're just going to drop a transpose line from the base of his chin to the tip of his pointy head here. That'll be one head length, and you know what? Maybe his head's a little long. I might drop that down just a little bit. And then underneath the preferences here, we can say, if I remember how to do this, I don't do this that often. Transpose, here's the transpose preferences, and then here's transpose units. So my unit scale is set to 1. I want 10, now let's say 4 minor ticks, and that's basically like 1, 2, 3, 4 in between the 2 major, and then 1 major tick, and then the calibration distance, I think I set that to 1. Set units, and we'll call this heads. So now this is going to be 1 head unit split into 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have a midpoint here where the eye line should be, and then we have the hairline here, and then the so 1 midline, just about at the brow, hairline, brow, nose. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so we have a head length unit now. So we can go through here, and we can just drag a transpose line from the top of the head down to the bottom of the feet-ish. We can grab these outside orange things just to go through here, and let's move this up so I have a head unit starting here. There we go. So we got 1 head down, move this middle one down. Okay, so 1 heads, 2 heads, 3 heads, 4 heads, 5 heads, 6 heads, 7 heads, and a little bit. We could call that 7.5 heads. Let's go ahead and elongate this body out. So I'm going to Alt-tap this one here, hit W, and then let's hit Y to go into Gizmo mode. And then now we can kind of stretch him out to kind of get, I don't know if we need heroic proportions for this dude, but we'll stretch him out just a bit. So again, let's go back into this subtool here, and we'll hit W and then Y, and then one more time, straight down. 1 head, 2 head, 3 head, 4 head, 5 head, 6 heads, 7 heads, 7.5 heads. Again, if you did want to go heroic proportions, we can Alt-tap this one here, and we can literally just stretch him out until he is about 8 heads high. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there we go. Changes proportions a little bit. Yeah, I'm just going to use a base body just to kind of get speeding along. But what you could do is, and I think I have this, you know what? Now that I think about this, if you scroll way back through history, in fact, he might not even be on here. Oh yeah, okay, so episode 1, you know what, I'm going to do this. So Thursday, we're going to go back to episode 1, and we're going to take, so here's me going through the base body creation just using Z-spheres. And boy, this is old. I'm going to take this and I'm going to do a little bit of fan art with him, since I got something that reminded me of where I was going with this. I think that'll be fun. So, no spoilers, but we'll do that. But if you wanted to see the Z-sphere creation process, that's probably a decent one to start with. So we'll hit Y, and I'm going to move my base body into place here, and we'll just kind of borrow these proportions. So let's see how I want to approach this. X symmetry turned on, and again, I just need volumes. So let's see if we can't drop this resolution down. I don't want his fingers sticking together, but I also don't want a whole lot of information here. So let's say maybe 128. Ooh, 80. 80 is a little low. 192. Getting better. Let's stick with 128. There we go. So now, what we could do is we were thinking about maybe using this mesh originally. Let's go ahead and turn off our poly paint so we can see which subtools we have selected. And just alt tapping through our subtools here. So what I can do is I already have like a subtool kind of useful for his upper body here. So let's go ahead and take our clay brush here, and that's just a hotkey. Again, that concept for ideation page will walk you through a lot of these basics if you see me using hotkeys or custom menus and stuff like that. This page right here and this video list right here will walk you through like the super duper basics of ZBrush. And it's kind of fun. Also, if you want to go, again, way back in time, the Intro to ZBrush Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Intro to ZBrush Part 1 is all on YouTube. And then this kind of goes to the basics too. It's a little bit dated. It's actually before the Gizmo was even invented. But down here under these exercises, like making a head and a bust and making bust variants, and then making these ones here are kind of fun just to kind of walk through, because this is just basic functionality, so it's still relevant. I think. Where is it? Where is it? No, go away. Stop. There we go. So for example, yeah, these kind of going through here and taking a bust that's already been created and then going through here and kind of just doing modifications to that bust to kind of make variants and kind of, it's, again, these are super old, but like I said, the base functionality didn't change that much. So it might still be useful to you. But if you want to check that out, that would be Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and the other series, the Intro to Concept and Ideation series. So again, ZBrush, clay brush, and we're just going to knock this base mesh down. In fact, this whole head I know I don't need. So I'm going to go through here, I'm going to do a trim curve and just slice that off. Now what trim does is going to, boy, he's got a big body compared to his head. I'm going to do a uniform scale here just a bit, just to kind of match up his tailbone length and stuff like that. And even here, I'm going to fix, let's move this up just a bit. So what's trim does is going to do a slice and then a fill hole operation, so that way kind of save you a little bit of time. So we're going through here, and again, we're just kind of knocking back this thing, and we're going to grab this. And we're also going to make sure that it's not completely out of whack with the overall body proportions. And he's a very gaunt, kind of old figure, and I don't necessarily want to like do any of his hands or his feet, not a whole lot of fat or muscle in those areas, but if I mask those out, now I can go through here and maybe just do like a deflate over here just to kind of instant weight loss. Now also, you know what, his knees, these bony landmarks, wherever they're, again, there's not a whole lot of fat, I don't necessarily want to change these too much. In fact, like when you see really gaunt body types, or emaciated body types, these will actually, instead of it going like, oh, nice smooth curve here, and then the usual, talking about anatomy, you got curves here that offset each other, and then straights and curves and stuff like that. This will actually end up being very blocky, basically the femur and the tibia and the patella making the bulk of the volume in your leg, and then very, very thin legs through here. So anyway, I'll go ahead and scale this down. Okay, that helps a little bit. And our clay brush here, because again, we already did a bit of the shoulders and scapula and stuff like that. And now we're just going to kind of merge these two together. And because we're basically using Dynamesh, should be fairly easy. Now I'm going to match his arms with the, let's go hold on control, go into mask lasso, control tap out just to kind of feather that a little bit, control tap in your document to invert that, and I was going to go through here and move, and just again, just manually keeping my bony landmarks, and I'm not, again, overly concerned about the anatomy too much. I'm really just concerned about the volumes. But I will go through here and manually just kind of skinny him out just a bit. I do have him, his kind of the curve of his spine going down here into his sacrum and stuff like that. Again, I don't really need this, so again, we'll just do a trim, and that just does a slice and a fill hole there. And you can always control drag and re-Dynamesh as needed, and then once these are close enough, I'm just going to Dynamesh them together. So again, go through here and just kind of knock back. We've already explored all this. Oh, and if you are interested in the anatomy part, the earlier videos on this, we did go into like zygote body and stuff like that, and I had a little bit of fun with that here. Move brush, clay brush, pop this back here, pop it up here, re-Dynamesh. Okay, so we've basically stolen this body here. Still a little bit too much muscle mass through here. Again, if we're going for that emaciated body type, which we don't have to, but I think that'll work. All right. So if I want to merge these together, and let's say I didn't know actually where any of these subtools were in my stack, what I would usually do is hold down Shift and do the bent up arrow up to the top, Shift, bent up arrow, and because these all have the Dynamesh properties set at 128, the resolution will carry across. So I can just take this top one here, merge that down under subtool merge, control drag to re-Dynamesh, and now these things are stuck together. So if I wanted to at this point, and this is kind of like a Boolean operation, you could do this if you wanted to. If you had a lot of detail or a lot of hard surface stuff, you could do a remesh by union. But this is useful for creating this like a low-res envelope. So earlier we talked about how do you do a game res. This would be a good start in ZBrush to start your game res, and then you could z-remesh this result and have, I shouldn't say game res. People get very particular about game reses and perfect stuff. This would be more of like getting an envelope proxy that you could bake to, just kind of a quick test. So we got the volumes of the body here, and now we can start Mr. Roboticizing it. Make sure I got some reference up here. Boy, it's dark. I should have run on levels on these before I pulled them in. But they'll work. Let me get caught up here real quick. I guess, yeah, we talked about earlier about us doing, you know, kind of sculpt overs and stuff. I guess, let me see if I can, I'm trying to think. Load it up. And again, I'm so terrible about Discord. Maybe the worst. Yeah, definitely the worst. But I guess that's as good a place as any to kind of catch those. Give me a second here. Can I... Oh. Stupid. Sorry. Give me a second. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll just be a minute. You can check out this cool naked guy. And paste. And paste. And authenticate. Oh boy. Oops. There we go. Let's see if I remember how to use this. There's me. And then if I go down here to, let's say, art feedback, create invite, copy. Let's see if this works. You can drop them in there on the off chance I actually go in there and grab stuff. Okay, let's get caught up here. Oh, thank you for the kind words, Rayworch. How do you sharpen the mask? That's just Control, mask something out, let's switch back to our mask pan. So if you mask something out, you can hold down Control Alt and tap, and that'll sharpen it up, or Control Tap, and that'll fade it out. All this stuff is underneath masking down here as well. So you can just click these buttons if you want to, but that's a little bit faster. We're going to sculpt, we're going to make this mechanical body. I'm not going to show you the reference I'm using because maybe some spoilers, but just a mechanical body. I could use a little bit of emaciation myself. I've been binge eating or stress eating Twizzlers. Hey Bertram, I'm doing good. Oh yeah, had to shave my. Usually it's out of laziness that I don't shave. Not against it, but to get my COVID mask fitting, I had to go ahead and knock that down for shopping. I don't speak Russian. Vaguely Russian last name ish. Cool. What's the best way to Dynamesh a high poly model to get ready for 3D printing without losing the details? That would be, instead of Dynameshing, I would use, if you really don't want to lose any details, instead of Dynameshing, go in here and do a remesh by union. So just have all your objects merged, or you can do that through the merge menu here. You can just merge down, subtool, merge down, or merge visible. And that'll pop this out, and then you can just do a remesh by union, and that will actually weld the border verts together, and then you won't have any degradation or loss. What you could do, though, if you did want to use Dynamesh, is you Dynamesh it, and then you could subdivide that Dynamesh and project all, kind of like we did earlier in the stream. Get your details back. Oh, hi. Ninja. All right, so we got the volumes here, and I think we're good to go. So let's go ahead and start roboticizing this. So now, again, this is going to be kind of a robot body underneath the skin. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, now that I have this kind of in the right place. Oh, here's another thing too. So we have the Z tool just kind of sitting here. So what we could do is we could use our BZP, Z project brush, turn off X symmetry, and then hold down Alt and let go of Alt and just kind of pull this detail into my Dynamesh if I really wanted to match these verts up. And you notice I'm only doing half. We have X symmetry turned off because, again, that camera projection will get you. You got to be real careful with that. But we already know about Smart Resim, but in the case of Dynamesh, I don't need to Smart Resim this. There you go. See? It'll get you. We don't need to Smart Resim this because it's just a Dynamesh, so I can just do a quick mirror across the X-axis, and then mirror and weld, and then X symmetry, and then we just grab those details as needed. You can also mask and project all, I suppose, but so now all this is part of that. Here's the other thing. All this is part of that bib. I don't really need that. But that was just something I want to talk about. So overall, I'm going to go ahead and shrink this down one more time. We're going to deflate this, so -5? Yeah, there we go. And again, we're just getting these volumes ready to have a kind of a skin over it. And you know what? Let's do one more. -3. I'm watching those fingers mostly. Yeah, I think that'll work. So now let's do, I'm just looking for these volumes here. I don't necessarily, the landmarks are neat for like where knee joints and stuff will go. I don't really need them too much. So under here under deformation, if I have hit Control W, make this all one poly group, I can go over here and I can do a polish by features. And if I have this open circle, it's going to polish the heck out of it and lose all my volumes. If I do closed circle and go through here, polish by features, closed circle, that'll smooth out the entire mesh and maintain my volumes. Of course, you can use polish up here or even relax if you wanted to, I suppose, or smooth down here. But that'll just kind of overall smooth the mesh out for you. Okay. Now, okay. So again, just looking at my reference here, where are the areas that I want to go ahead and start mechanicalizing this? And I want to get rid of some of these lumps. It's going to be a very nice, smooth kind of frame underneath here, so I don't need like scapulas or anything built into that frame. Just again, just the volumes. Just the volumes here. And now I'm going to be, you know what, I'm going to zoom into some areas here that I'm going to focus on. So ribcage and back and scapula for now. And again, I'm going to go quick. I'm not going to take a whole lot of time finessing or finagling, of course, feel free on your own to really, really take your time and focus in on what I'm trying to create here. So I guess this is my best bet, is right about here. You know, I don't even need all this. Move, embiggen, perfect. Okay, so through here, let's go ahead and say I'm gonna just kind of follow this ribcage line down. And if this is a little bit too low res, I'm not saying it is necessarily for what we're doing, but you can go in here and you can just crank up that Dynamesh resolution and hold down Control and do that. In fact, let's go in here to transparency and have ghost turned on. So underneath this skin here, it'll be a little bit easier to kind of go through and just kind of, we'll put in like a little rib cage design basically. So it looks like all the way down through here, even underneath a little bit, it kind of goes through here, and it kind of just does a crisscrossing ribbon effect, like so. And the reference I'm looking at is a little more feminine, but we'll go through here. And this one, it doesn't really matter too much. I can always tighten up these masks, or we can change the geometry later as needed. I'm just kind of looking through here and seeing where, yeah, it kind of goes through here. Okay. And then through here, these kind of connect down together. And then up through here, you know, I'm going to kind of have it follow maybe this pattern like through here. Maybe a little support through there. And then on the back, kind of the same deal. Back doesn't look like it really has too much protection, so we'll leave that alone for now. The shoulders do. Kind of has a little shoulder area. Go ahead and put a little shoulder geo in here. Yep. Just drop this down. Nice. And again, this is, so if you're into, ooh, I can pull this up. You guys might enjoy this. Let me go to my drive here underneath design. Sketching design for entertainment. Nope. Kit bash organization. Nope. Vehicle components. Mechanical terminology. So here's some mechanical terminology in here, and this is like lightweighting and making things structural, but less material cost and less overall weight. And you're going to see here this generative design. So you're taking this structural, you know, this thing has a structural strength and it has to maintain this form in order to function appropriately for what it's supposed to do. However, you can use less materials, and you can see right here's another good example. So here's the basic shape, and then if you use generative design, the computer will go through and be like, I can give you the exact same strength, or possibly even here's 20% stronger, 40% lighter, if you print it out, or if you mold it, or if you machine it in this way. So here's like the honeycomb, you know, if you'd like the inside of things, you can make it a lot lighter weight, but also make it stronger. So generative design, check that out. Some Zbrush Summits talk about Dynameshing, so I thought I was missing something. You know, the Zbrush Summit guys too, they do it a lot. Like the Hasbro guy can walk you through like, you know, super duper hi-fi 3D printing type stuff. That was a really good one. I enjoyed that one a lot. I wish I could do more of that. Are you contractually not allowed to talk about other software like Maya, Blender, and stuff? But anyways, you make anatomical sculpts. How do you make anatomical sculpts realistic? There's a lot of answers to that question, and I'm not under contract, I don't think. I think I signed an NDA while I'm on doing some software testing for some companies, but just while I'm streaming for Pixelogic, they don't mind me too much. I mean, I do like to keep it on my channel, so what I'll do is I'll live stream on my channel on Thursdays, the first Thursdays of the month, and I live stream here on the first Tuesdays of the month. And then on my live streams, I may tend to go into other programs. The only reason I use ZBrush a lot, not the only reason, but one of the reasons I use ZBrush a lot is because It's fast and easy, and I can get a lot done while I talk about stuff and answer questions, as opposed to other programs or other processes where it gets like, well, okay, I'm not going to be able to look over there at the comments, and you're going to sit here and watch me for 4 hours plink away at some, do some vert massaging, and it doesn't tend to be overly stimulating for the audience. At least I can't imagine it is. Maybe you guys have a different opinion, but that's a general thought process. Looking through here, looks like on the forearm. Oh yeah, there's some cool stuff going on here. So actually, and we could do this even if we did need to get more resolution out of this and I wanted to do it later, what I could do is I could just take like the volume of the area I want to lightweight, and then we could lightweight it later. So if I just want to get like, hey, it has a mass here and it has another mass along the scapula here, I can just go through and very quickly just kind of block these out, and then I can go through and punch holes in them or do whatever I need to do later. So let's do that. Let's get the masses in first, and then we'll lightweight them up. That might be a little funner, and it'll kind of keep me a little bit more honest as far as like where I'm putting these volumes here that are kind of acting as protection, I suppose. So through here, and then around the pelvis area, that's just going to be kind of a skirt. And then over here on the legs, did I zoom in on here? Looks like the legs, it kind of swoops around like this. So we'll just go ahead and take these areas, and we'll do some generative looking stuff, and we'll keep it away from the knees because those need to bend and pivot. So we'll go ahead and move these up a little bit. And then, yeah, right along the front here, we'll go ahead and take this. And the feet look kind of interesting. Those look just kind of metallic. So we got these here. So I always like to have this kind of working in the background in case I need to snap something to it later. So what I like to do is just duplicate this off. Let's hold down Shift and turn everything else off except for this body. And we'll turn transparency off. And then again, we can run our geometry edge loop mask border, and then we just grab all these pieces, and this is going to be where we start kind of punching holes in this as we want to. So I can say delete hidden. And if I wanted to, even on this, I could go through and zero mesh this and start box modeling. I don't think I'm ready for that yet, though. So in fact, speaking of, before I do that, let's hit Control W, so I get these poly groups here, and then trying to think. Okay, let's do this. This will be fun. So we're going to go through here. I'm going to fill this RGB color, fill with red, and then I'm going to up the resolution here. So it'll go ahead and maintain my poly group or my poly paint. However, I lost my poly groups, no big deal. We can go down here and we can do poly groups. We could do poly groups from poly paint, and that'll go ahead and give me these as well. There's a couple different ways you could have done that, but that's fine. And then we'll go ahead and say delete hidden. And then here, we can smooth these borders out if we wanted to by going in here. Let's go ahead and turn off our poly paint here. Let's hold down Shift and turn off this little paintbrush, turn off poly paint for everything. We go down here to mask border, and then we can actually grow this maybe a little bit, and then maybe blur it, Control Tap to invert that. And we can do polish by features open circle, and again, just polish those out if we wanted to zero mesh this. And you can make a macro out of that too if you'd like. So, going through here, don't need transpose units anymore. In fact, don't even need preferences anymore. And we're just going to go through here really quickly. And we kind of already have an idea of what this needs to look like. So we want structure right down the middle here. And then maybe right around the sides. And we have double turned on in our display properties, which is fine. So again, we'll go ahead and just kind of mask here. Or we could do, if we do want to just kind of loop around here, let's do this. Let's do mask by border, and then again, just grow that, and then sharpen it, grow, sharpen, and that'll go ahead and just mask out our border for it, so I don't have to manually do that. And then we'll just go through here And we'll mask right down the middle. And again, we're just going to kind of follow kind of ribcage patterns here. And you can leave tight corners in here. We can actually smooth those out later on. And then these, actually, we don't need to do any lightweighting because these are just going to be, but we'll go ahead and leave those for now. Don't need to touch those really. And then over here, we'll go ahead and do, again, let's say we want to do like, okay, we got a ring in here and that's going to connect here for some integrity. And then we can hollow this out, maybe. And then through here, we need to connect some of these areas. And then maybe through here it decided, you know what, I want to connect these maybe. We'll pretend like the computer's doing smart stuff, when in reality, it's just me acting smart. Because it looks like it has a little bit more flow to it. And even the generative designs tend to have a little more flow as opposed to like this, where I just did a radial pinwheel. They tended to kind of be like, bad choice. Tended to be more like, and then down through here on the forearm. Thought I had a good forearm picture. Yeah. Kind of the same deal. And you could conceivably do like a noise pattern, like this kind of looks like a purlin noise that you could probably, you could do it in the surface, tool surface area. You could drop in some purlin noise and convert that to a mask, or even like substance designer. You could go through here and you could probably do a pretty cool maybe noise thing there. And then down through the thigh here. Sorry, I know this isn't, again, super stimulating. Bear with me. We're just making shapes. And there's also a number of different ways you could do this, just like when we did our poly paint earlier, just a few minutes ago, and then we went through and kind of masked. You could be poly painting this and using Z plugin polygroup it, or polygroup from polypaint, or there's polypaint masking now you could do underneath masking. You could mask by polypaint. If you want to see more on that, Intro to ZBrush 20 or ZBrush 2020 What's New on my YouTube channel and my ArtStation page. Kind of get you caught up. And any new release of ZBrush ever since like 4R8, I believe, I've done. So here, ZBrush 4R8, what's new, ZBrush 2018, what's new, ZBrush 2019, what's new, and ZBrush 2020, what's new. So you can check those out and get caught up. And they're usually pretty concise playlists. I just kind of walk through, and if there's any functionality that builds on something pre-existing, I usually do like a quick catch up on like Spotlight. Hey, here's basic Spotlight functionality in case you haven't really used that a lot in the last couple of years, and then we'll get you caught up in the new like Spotlight geo projection type stuff. And you know what? Let's do this. So I'm holding Control Alt. We'll unmask an area, and then here. Almost done. And with this door closed, it is getting hot in here. Let me turn my AC down just real quick. Okay, so we've got the basic overall framework that we're going to need. And again, there's a couple different ways we could do this. If we wanted to just hit Control W and then hold down Shift and switch back over to smooth groups. If we turn on, we have line turned on, you can go through here and you can actually smooth these out. That probably not the best way to go about this, especially something this complex. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to do our usual mask. Sorry, I'm bumping my table. Edge loop mask border. Give me a second here. Okay. There we go. Edge loop mask border, that'll kind of clean it up a little bit, and then we can isolate these. And then if we want to clean that up even more, again, just going down here to mask by features border, grow, invert, polish by features, and then I'll go ahead and clean that up. Another thing we could, we can continue doing this. If you want to turn off view mask, you can see this a little bit better. So we can go through here, and again, just do our polish by features. And we go ahead and turn off Dynamesh, we don't need that anymore. And that'll kind of smooth those lines out. You could have also smoothed out your masking and then tightened it up, and that'll give you, again, a little bit of a smoother transition. Through here, let's go ahead and break up some of that silhouette as well, because there's some areas where it just looks a little bit more interesting. We go through here and kind of pull these borders around. And Zbrush, oh, you know what? So see how it kind of leaped across there, and I'm pulling this geometry as well. Let's go over here to our topological underneath our move brush. I'm actually using a variation of the move brush called Move Acu. So I can pull the points here, and that's just going in here. I talk about this every single stream. Underneath, considering I talk about it every stream, you'd think I'd remember where this is. Curve, Acu curve. Turn that on, and you can actually just like pull out to corners if you needed to. So we'll go through here and we'll kind of put some interest into that border a little bit, so Zbrush can consider that when we go through and do our for reals geometry here. Keep that smooth. Another thing we do is go through here and we can pinch this, and this is actually, okay, let's do this. I'm going to take my history slider all the way through. There's a couple areas that I wanted to, so first of all, we can hold down Control and kind of mask, blur that mask, and that'll actually shrink the mask down, and then Control Alt will tighten that up, and you're going to see it gets smoother, but also thinner, and I think that'll be a little bit better for what I'm going for. And we can always thicken the geometry up later after we give it some thickness here, but what I'm trying to do, and actually, you know what, now that I think about it, now I'm wondering if I should do that later, because, sorry, I'm having to do some troubleshooting in my brain first. Yeah, because I don't want to run the risk of Zbrush having a hard time, and I think giving it more volume to chew on will be beneficial. So I'm going to hold down Control, and we'll just blur this. We'll just tighten this up a little bit. And then again, sorry, we'll go through here just really quickly. Do our edge loop mask border. In fact, I don't even think we lost that. Yeah, we'll just keep it as is. Delete hidden. And then, actually, before we delete hidden, let's try this. Oh, that's not going to help us on the border. Never mind. Sorry. Still waking up. Go through here, and again, And these borders we can also change after our ZRemesh. It's not a huge deal. And actually, is there a smooth? Let's do this mask border. Let's fix this manually. I'll go through here and just kind of. Another thing too, you can go in here and your smooth brush modifiers, min connected to 1, and that will allow you to smooth along a border a little bit easier. Go through here, and again, just modify these border edges a bit. Okay, so now I think we're ready to ZRemesh, and I'm going to drop the ZRemesh down to, you're going to see in here, if we turn on line, here's our poly information, our vert information, our edge information is kind of messy. So we'll go through here. Let's do a quick mirror and weld across the x-axis, and then we have ZRemesher with x turned on. So I'm going to say adapt the size down to 0 because we want nice even quads, and we'll just do half. This will give us probably too much geometry since we're going from 138 down to like 60 something. Oh, turn off geometry, ZRemesher. Turn off use poly paint, and then we want to do half, and then ZRemesh, and then make sure you don't have like freeze border or something on. There we go. That's what I expected. So this will give us a little bit of a cleaner geometry. And again, these are a little thicker than I want, but we can change that in post. And let's go ahead and smooth those borders out one more time. That's my feature border, and then just through here, polish by features, open circle, smooth those borders out just to kind of help it out a little bit. ZRemesh half, ZRemesh half, ZRemesh half. Oh boy, we're starting to break down a little bit. So instead of ZRemesh half, because I do want it to go a little bit lower, let's do ZRemesh half. And we might have to do this individually or. Like this stuff back here we don't really need. So here we have trim still turned on. If you hold down Control or tap Control, it'll switch to this. You can do hold on Control Alt, get rid of these, Control Shift drag, Control Shift A, Control Shift drag again, and delete hidden. That's some nimble handwork there. Might be easier just to hold down Control Shift and switch back to select rectangle. Okay, so we're going to do ZRemesh half, hold down Alt for my ZRemesher, and that'll give us a new midline algorithm, and sometimes it helps us maintain some of these edges a little bit better. And in fact, I can go through here and I can fix some of this up, so I'm not even overly concerned about that just yet. So let's try another ZRemesh half. Yeah, I think that's about perfect. And then these I can certainly fix. So let's go through here, and let's do, let's see if we can just like delete these edges here. Yeah, so there's some geometry that's like flipped over. So let's go down here to our display properties, and we'll clean this up a little bit. So turn off double. Boy, it really doesn't want me to select that face. Okay, let's do this. Let's hover over an edge, and we'll say collapse edge. If it's going to fight me, boom, you're dead. And then I can go through here and I can add points, and I can bridge edges and stuff like that. So in fact, let's just go through here and we'll say bridge edge. We can do this. We can do this with bridge geometry. Oops. You know what? Looks like this is going to give me a little bit of problems. Okay, let's do this. Let's do split edge here. I'll go ahead and put an edge right there, or a vert right there. Go into remove brush. Let's pull this out, and now we can connect these a little bit easier, maybe. So let's say bridge edges, U to U, U to U. You know what? U to U. It's not ideal, but I think we can live with it. And then U to U, U to U. Look, easy enough. Again, not really digging that triangle right there. So let's try this. Let's delete that poly, and we'll just bridge these two. And we'll use our move brush to kind of scooch that over. So again, you can also maybe bridge through here, and then you could do an insert single edge loop. It's going to go all the way around, isn't it? Yeah. Let's do this. Hover over an edge, and we'll say split U and U. And kind of move these here, and in fact we can even just stitch these together at this point. So we can say stitch 2 points, U to U, U to U, and this is going to be a triangle. Again, not ideal, but let's go ahead and bridge U and U, and U and U. And we just massage that out there. Control W, make this all one polygroup, or if you want, you can go through here and you can say auto groups. So underneath your polygroups menu in your geometry, you can do auto groups, and that's going to make it different polygroups on both sides. So let's do a quick mirror and weld across the X. And another thing we can do is let's do Control Shift. I'm going to grab little pieces of these little things here, because there might be some Z-remeshed garbage in here. Control Shift, drag, Control Shift A. Yeah, there's like little garbage points in here, so we're just going to say delete hidden. That's an easy way to kind of clean out stray verts that are kind of sitting there. And then we'll go ahead and say bridge. And if bridging gets a little bit difficult, let's go through and collapse some of this nonsense. You can use your mouse. Sometimes modeling in ZModeler is a little bit more conducive. Split. No, we're going to bridge 2 points now. So now we can bridge these 2 points. And again, this geometry is getting kind of cruddy, so we'll just run a split. And then we'll just have to clean this up a little bit. So delete, 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 delete. Not in love with this, so let's do this. Split here, 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 all the way to this point, and then stitch U to U. Oops. Okay, this is a good one. So hover over face, say do nothing. Hover over an edge, say do nothing. So now I will only take my point information. Oh, not stitch. That's my being dumb. On a bridge, 2 points here. And then delete. And if this geo in here is a little bit, and now I can simply just go in here and move that out. So we can go through here, we can say insert single edge loop, even that out a little bit, Control W, and I think we're looking better. I think I can live with the rest of this. Actually, let's do this. Collapse, edge. And then I think this was going somewhere up here. Let's do split, split, bridge, delete. And Zbrush really doesn't like n-gons, so that's why you're not able to it's kind of maybe seems a little bit slow to kind of work your way through there, but we figured it out. Now in here we can go to insert multiple edge loops. We can just drop in enough spans in there to make that make sense. Maybe something similar through here. Let's say yoink. Yeah, let's just stitch these together. Good enough. Now at this point, you could Z-remesh same and see if that kind of redistributes your geometry better. But I think, honestly, for what I'm going to be using this for, it doesn't need to be super duper. And just one more edge to bridge. Sorry about that, everybody. Insert multiple. Bring. Now in this case, I do need to get some of that curvature back probably. So I can just manually go through here and just kind of use my move brush and kind of pull that out just a bit. Okay. Control W. Let's go ahead and bring everything back. Boing. Here, hold down Shift, turn this on, go into transparency mode. We can see, okay, we got this going. So let's go ahead and give this some thickness, and I think it's all pretty regular. So we'll go through here, and again, let's go in here with our line turned on, and we'll say probably groups turned on. And again, we'll do an extrude all polygons, just in case you had like we did before, auto groups, mirror and weld, you can do an extrude all polygons here. And then now when we pull this inwards, because we don't want to go outwards, that'll give us a pretty easy geometry here. And then we're going to go through here and we're going to do our display properties flip. So now this is where we get into how these edges, how we want these edges, or if we want these to be thinner. Since we pulled this in and it gave us all new polygroups here, we can simply go through here, extrude polygroup all, and then hold down shift as you go through here, and that'll actually thin out those interior polygons here. You can kind of pull along those normals, or you can do it individually if you want to do like island. Actually, extrude polygroup all, this will give you a better result. So here we're kind of thinning out along there, so if you want to thin these out just a bit. And then also if you want to do it individually, if you want to go through here and be like, you know what, just this one right here, just do island. So extrude polygroup island, then hold down shift. You can do this with QMesh as well. And so that way you can go through here and you can kind of thin through these individually if you needed to. But these are looking okay. And when we start giving the subdivisions, it's actually going to clear some of these out. And even in through here, if you said, oh no, you know what, I wanted these to be connected, you could still do it at this point. It's not insurmountable. You can just go through here and we'll just collapse these edges here. And since this just has one connecting edge here, we're just going to quickly go through here. And now we can say, instead of bridge edges, we can say bridge two polys here and here. And then we can still go through here. We can say insert multiple edge loops. Boing. And then, yeah, you're good to go. So now you may be thinking, well, now I just messed up all my polygroups. It's still pretty simple to get back. These edges are fairly clean. So I think if I go through here and under your polygroup menu, there's a group by normals. You can probably just keep it at 45. And that'll give you your interior and your exterior shells. And then these ones, if you want to make them all one polygroup, you can do that as well. You didn't even have to do this. We can actually use panel loops for this type of functionality, and it might actually be cleaner now that I think about it. But I think this will be fine, but just that's another option available to you. And when you do panel loops, that will actually give you inside and outside polygroups that are compatible with each other. We can recreate that really quickly though, so it's not like you lose anything necessarily. Oh, you know what, I'm stupid. Okay, let's do this. Control W, no, this is fine. Control W here to make all the inside and out, the middle polygroups all the same for everybody again. And then we'll do a quick mirror and weld. X symmetry turned on. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's try this. Let's turn off transparency, let's turn off polyframe. We're gonna go ahead and hit D for dynamic subdivisions. And that's going to give us a preview of what it would look like subdivided. And I think that's about right. If you wanted to play around with maybe creasing and say, we have polygroups, borders around all through here. So if I wanted to go through here and say, you know what, crease all of my polygroup borders, that'll make it too sharp. But we can kind of go, hey, give me a crease level of 1 and then a smooth subdiv of 2. And that's up here underneath dynamic subdivs here. Or 3, and that'll give you a nice smooth look. And that'll kind of, if you do crease level of 3, it's too sharp because it's the same. But crease level of 2 keeps those edges pretty tight. Crease level of 1 softens it up even more, and then crease level of 0 just turns off creasing altogether. So it looks like maybe crease level of 1's okay. That'll be your little interior mesh there. And then now we just need to do a couple of hard surface additions, drop some wires in there, which should go pretty quick, and then a little spine, which we can do with array mesh, and I think we're done. Let me get caught up here. How would you UV this if you wanted to texture it in Substance? This one would actually be fairly easy to UV because we have polygroups here. I could use you can auto UV in Substance if you wanted to, or Substance Painter. But underneath here, you go into Z plugin, do UV master, and then just have symmetry on because we have that on. So let's say, let's do this real quick. Work on clone. I want symmetry and polygroups turned on, and then we can just say unwrap, and then we can just say flatten, and then now we have UVs that we can paint on. It may not be, you know, you could change your polygroups, so you could go unflatten here. You could do Control Shift and grab. So let's do this. Control Shift grab all of these front facing polygroups here, for example, just to show you an example. Control-Shift-X to expand, and that'll grab all of these pieces here. Then you can do Control-W or auto groups. Let me just do a quick mirror and weld. And then it'll go ahead and just keep those together. So now when I do an unwrap with symmetry and polygroups turned on and then a flatten, that'll get rid of a lot of these little stragglers here. So you can see these are thicker, so these are all not overlapping UVs. And then of course in here you can hit Control Tab and you can move and scale and rotate and do whatever you need to those. And then in here you just copy UVs and then paste those back to this mesh here. And then you've got a UV. Okay, so for here, let's go ahead and let's get cracking on. Okay, let's switch back to our startup material. Hold down Shift, turn on transparency, go ahead and select our endoskeleton here, and very quickly, let's go ahead and do a spine real quick. This one will be fun too. There's a lot of different ways we could do a spine, and one way I like to kind of start out with a spine, again, or just any repeating shape really, is we'll go in here to Polymesh 3D, go into Edit Mode, hit Control N, and then we're going to go down here to Initialize. Q-Cube is fine. And in this point, we could box model this if we wanted to. If we wanted to go through here and say, like, okay, let's turn on X Symmetry, and let's turn on Bevel Edge Loop Complete, and we want to Alt-Tack these, and then Q-Mesh, Polygroup All, and pull these out, and go to Control-Alt and move these back, or grab all of these and move them back. However you want to kind of start making your spine shape. And then, just to kind of get an idea of what this is going to look like stacked against each other, go in here to Array Mesh, turn on Array Mesh, lock position, lock size, and I'm going to hit W, and we're going to turn on Transpose because I can hit Y, go to my Transpose line, and if you want more information, if I'm going too fast, you know, I've never get YouTube comments about I go too fast, but you can go in here to search and do Array Mesh on my channel, and oh my goodness, all the Array Mesh videos to feast your eyes on. So if you want to kind of check that out. But essentially what we're going to do is we have Array Mesh turned on, which means I can pull out a copy of this and it'll start repeating. So if I go in here and I turn out repeat, it'll start repeating. But we need to turn transpose on. So now, when I pull this out, you're going to see we have repeats right in here. So instead of having to go over here to Array Mesh, I can just do repeats right in here. So I can go through and I can move out. I can scale these things. I can move them in here. I can change the repeating, how many times it repeats. And so this is going to kind of give me a preview of what these instances would look like as I start stacking up a spine. Now, if I'm not overly interested in box modeling, which nothing wrong with it, but if you want to be a little more loosey-goosey here, you can go in here to your Dynamesh and then just start sculpting as well. It works just fine with both of those. So we'll go in here to our trim dynamic, and let's go ahead and crank that resolution up just a bit. And then we can go through here, and we can start modifying this. Smooth groups goes back down to my smooth, which is smooth stronger, if I can find it. There it is. And then now, and again, these ones aren't going to change if you're trying to sculpt on them. It's only this one down here when you turn on polyframe that's active. So again, we can go in here to our trim dynamic, and we can start just kind of locking in what we want our shape to look like. And it looks fine, so let's go ahead and, we have transpose turned on, so I can use this transpose line. We can turn that off once we're done with that and go back in here to Gizmo. And now we can start, you know, modifying this a bit to get the shape that we're looking for here, like so. And what we're going to end up doing is converting this to a, we could do Array Mesh on a spine, but it's complex curves can sometimes be a little bit iffy. I'm just going here to pinch. So if I want to pinch this top here, I can just go in with my pinch brush, or I can hit W, go ahead and set this gizmo pivot along that axis, go in here to the Gizmo Deformer, and we could do a taper. We could try doing a taper in this direction, but instead what we're going to do is a deformer. And it seems to be grabbing way too much. So let's turn Array Mesh off. That's just under your Array Mesh settings here. That's a bit weird. Let me see, what am I missing here? Delete hidden. W. Go to Unmatch Mesh Center. X here. Thin it out a little bit. Deformer. There we go. I'm not sure why it was being weird. In this case, I don't need that many deformers, like a lattice deformer in Maya, so I can hold down Control Alt and I can grab these corners here. So now I can just do, just like unmask these points basically, or mask them if I don't want to touch them. So that's just another way you can kind of use this. Or if you want to add more subdivisions, you go through here and now you can take these ones and pull these out, pull these in, that kind of thing. But really, it's probably easy enough just go in here with your pinch. And we'll go ahead and move these up a little bit. Let's turn on X symmetry, mirror and weld. Or we can go through here and we can clip. Alt tap twice to kind of do a sharp cut through. And we can pull up like a ridge here. Let's go ahead and crank our Z intensity up a bit and turn our lazy radius up and then tap L to turn it off. And that will be our kind of working spine here. I'm going to move AcU and kind of vaguely sci-fi spine shape. If you want to get super fancy, you can go through here and you can actually have these things kind of interlock with each other, and you can have little rings that'll overlap and all sorts of cool stuff in here. But what I'm going to do is turn our array mesh back on, and here let's go back to transpose, and we'll have this transpose line follow the direction of the geometry here, and we can turn transpose back on so I can go through here and just do our repeats in the screen. And generally speaking, this is what our spine is going to look like. Now we could rotate this out. Let's go ahead and go out of transpose and go back into our gizmo here by hitting Y. So you could rotate these so they kind of overlap like scales, and then even these individual ones you could, move, scale, and rotate these. And I suppose that's about right. So at this point, I can add this to a brush. So if I can go in here, I can turn off array mesh, and we have this. So we can hit. Well, first thing we want to do. Let's clean this up just a little bit. In fact, let's clean this up so much that we can use ZRemesher to give us better geometry, because I was going to consider just like decimating this, but boy, that just gets, we've been doing such a good job like keeping nice clean geometry. I'd hate to go through and just do a decimation out of no reason other than laziness. So we'll go through here and we'll clean this up a little bit. We're going to use H polish, just hold down Alt through here, and then clay brush, kind of punch this in. And this, if this ends up being problematic as far as like ZRemesher trying to figure something out, that's easy enough just to do later. So I don't feel like you have to do all these complex shapes with ZRemesher. Do the simple shapes first, and then go in and use ZModeler to kind of punch in things based on the pre-existing geometry that you have. So now let's go ahead and give this some thickness. And with ZRemesher, what might be easier, so if I hold down Control, go in there to mask pin, and I'm just going to grab this top layer of geo that I want. And we're going to help ZRemesher out a little bit to figure out, like, because we're going to tell it, give me some new geometry, and it will, but the more information we can give it, the better the results will be. Let's go ahead and turn off line in our polyframe so we can see this a little bit better. So again, just this top layer will be enough for now. And you could also use Z-spheres to go through and like manually plot these points, and in fact, probably would be faster at this point, but we'll have some fun with it. So here we have this, and here it'd be easy enough just to turn our line back on. If we hit Control W and then go back to our smooth brush, hold down Shift to go back to smooth groups, you again just manually go through here and be like, hey, ZRemesher, let me help you out here. Now, ZRemesher does have this functionality already built in, so it might be a little redundant in that when you go to ZRemesh, you can say keep groups and smooth groups up. But let's go ahead and isolate this top one here. We'll say delete hidden. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Control Shift, and we're going to slice, because I want ZRemesher to know I want a line right through here when you give me new geo, and I also want another line right through here when you give me new geo, and a line right through here when you give me new geo. Then we'll do a quick mirror and weld. X symmetry is turned on, and then now it may not be perfectly smooth, but that's okay. I think ZRemesher will know when I say keep groups and smooth groups, just to go ahead and use those lines. So we'll say depth size on 0, half. And even here, it's like, you know what, let me help you out a little bit, because it's only going to do what you tell it to do. So if we go through here and we give these a little bit sharper corners, it will start building in sharper transitions. For sure. So again, if you don't want these to be melted looking, just go in and tell it, I don't want these to be melted looking. It'll be like, all right, no problemo. So ZBrush half. Let's try it one more time. And again, if we need a different algorithm for that midline, ZBrush half. So we'll say ZBrush half. Fingers crossed. That's not terrible. Slow down Alt. That's pretty good too. And let's do one more. Again, I'm always looking for, oh, here's another thing too. We can do keep groups, turn smooth groups down to 1 if you don't want it to keep melting your mesh, because our groups are already pretty smooth, so we don't need it to continue to do that. And then one more. Shoot, one more. Man, I could live with that. That's not too bad. Okay, so now here, we can go through here and we can say extrude all polygons. So we're going to go ahead and pull out some thickness through here. Now it is going to do some kind of crummy things on the bottom there because it's going to get a little bit thin. But that's okay. So what we can do is we'll go ahead and say display properties, flip, and then W, control tap this blue one here. I'm just going to Z flatten along this axis here. And we'll go ahead and pull this out a little bit. So that way, because again, I don't necessarily need this inside to follow that outside perfectly. I did want it to go through here. So while the rear end is masked, I can go through here and I can kind of pull this around and kind of shape this a little bit. And if I want to, I can also go in here and do a polish by features. Closed circle is probably better. And we can kind of relax that geometry in there. And I think that'll be fine. So here we have this. Now I do probably want to keep these edges creased. So what I can do is I can go up here again to our geometry, crease PG, and we're going to say, I'm just going to use my custom menu, it's easier. Crease level of 2, smooth subdiv of 3, and then now we have, this is our spine piece. And again, you could have rebuilt this manually, and if you still want to punch holes through here, you absolutely can. You can go through here and you can say Alt, paint these here, and then you can say like maybe inset polygroup all region here, and then maybe inset another region, and then Q mesh polygroup all, and then just hold down shift and pull along there. Again, roll around another crease PG so that when we Dynamesh this, we'll have that. So that's fine. Okay, so here's a crease line, and let's go ahead and say, let's mask edge. I'm going to mask these edges here. Control tap to invert that mask and hit W, Alt tap here. And I'm just going to push this in a little bit. Just give us a little more differentiation. If I want to, I can also go through here and I can say crease, edge loop complete, and I can add a little crease here. If I want to add some more visual interests along that spine. And you know, visual interest being subjective, maybe it's got more stuff visually going on, maybe it's not that interesting, or it competes, it's too much noise, you know, so that's something you just kind of fill out. We can also go through here. We can crease these corners here if it helps our shapes any. And again, we're just using ZModeler for this. And you know what, let's go ahead and flatten this point here. And sometimes do Shift D to go out of that mode so you can see these polygroups a little bit better. And you know what, let's say crease, edge loop complete. So maybe something like this. So now if we want to go ahead and make a spine out of this, and this is a lot easier to move around these few points to kind of get the overall shape. If you wanted to do another look, you're like, okay, that looks fine. And you could, we're going to scale these as we go up and down a mesh. But for now, we'll say, okay. And the other cool thing about this is it's super lightweight. So instead of having like a decimated piece of geo that's kind of messy geometry, it's just a few polygons now. I can keep these polygroups if I want. I can hit B, create insert mesh, new, and then manually we can go back to our body here. And right along his back, we could say, you know what, I could just manually go through and start inserting our spine right along here. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, just might be a little bit tedious. So we're going to try something else. One thing we can do is we can go in here to B. We already did that. Create insert mesh. Stroke. Let's go in here to curve. Turn on curve mode. And yeah, so now we could go through here and we could just whoop, add a spine this way. So we can go through and just draw a line right down the middle of his back. Now, drawing a line down the middle of his back is harder than it sounds. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this off. And we can hold down Control Shift, and I'm going to slice. In fact, let's do this. Let's hold down Control Shift. Let's go through here, and we're going to do a slice rectangle, because really I'm just looking for the spine portion right about here. And we're going to isolate this one here. And we're going to say delete hidden. And then I'm going to do a slice curve through here. Again, we're just looking for this little back piece here. Then do a quick mirror and weld. So now, even through this thing, we could do this. We could do zero mesh half, that size down to 0. And really, we're just looking for that midline. And zero mesh will get us that. Look at that. Not too shabby. Let's help it out a little bit. There's the shape I want. And then zero mesh half. And if it doesn't quite get it, let's try that Alt algorithm here. So we're going to hold down Alt and zero mesh. Almost. So let's go help it out a little. So we're going to go through here. And you know what? Let's just get rid of this. Delete hidden. And then, what am I looking for here? We want to split. And then I want to bridge. And then I want to collapse. And then I want to delete. There we go. So that's, oops, added some thickness there accidentally. So this is all I'm looking for. It's just that straight line down the middle. So now what I can do is turn off X symmetry by typing X, polygroup, polyloop, and now we've got we've got a polygroup border right down the middle, and now we can simply go in here and say stroke along our polygroup border, and now I can go in here and say B, create our insert mesh here, and there's tap, and then now we have a line going right down the middle. If we want these to be spaced closer together, or actually go in the other direction, think. Okay. Here's what we're going to have to do. That's fine. But now on this one, we need to go through here. I'm going to duplicate this off. We're going to say mirror in the Y direction. And we're going to rotate this around this way. So we have both of these shapes, but they're going in opposite directions. So now I can do this one selected. And we're going to say B, create insert mesh, append. Okay. So now we go back here. And now we have two options. So go through here. And I'm going to say tap this one, and then we do have curve brush turned on. So now they're going the right direction. And then now, if I want to go through here and do stroke, curve step, we can drop this down a little bit, and that'll go ahead and overlap them a little bit more. Now, better than going through manually, but now you're going to have to go through and like do a lot of finagling on those shapes. Again, still not ideal, but might be something worthwhile. I'm going to tap off to get rid of that curve, delete hips. So we have this kind of sitting in there. So what I'm going to do is go to Visibility under your Visibility menu and Tools, Hide Point, Delete Hidden, and let's try this again. So another thing we could do is we could make a brush that'll put squares. Same exact process, and I want to put squares along here. But I already have kind of squares. All I need to do is go through here and say Insert, Single Edge Loop, hold down Alt, and then every other one of these, we can actually replace every single square in here. And they're all fairly regular because we did a zero mesh with our adaptive size down to 0, which gives us very square geometry and favors equal geometry rather than building in edge loops where it thinks we need it based on what it thinks we need. So we're going to go through here, and we'll say delete a single poly. So now we have nice even squares here. So let's do this. Let's hit Control W. Let's go down here and temporarily insert single edge. No, maybe not even temporarily. We're going to get rid of that midline here. We're going to do an inset, polygroup all each poly. And now we're just going to take a little cube, or take a little square out of all these. So we're going to get rid of this border here. And then delete hidden. So now I have a bunch of squares along here. So the cool thing about this is I can now use Nanomesh Brush. You can use micromesh, but not as much cool stuff you can do. So I'm going to go through here, and now this brush is a curved brush. So what I'm going to do on this one, let's go ahead and select this one here, is I'm going to say B, create insert mesh brush, new. Underneath brush here, we're going to go to create, and we're going to say create Nanomesh Brush. My brain's starting to go. And I haven't even started my day yet. Oh, how scary is that? So if I want the spine to go along this path here using Nanomesh, I have a mesh here, and I can hover over this because I insert Nanomesh on a single poly. You want to do polygroup all. So now I can go through here, and I can say, give me a spine piece along every little thing. Now this is going to give us a little bit more control. So if we go down here and we say Nanomesh. So show placement's going to turn off that little plane underneath there, which I suppose we don't need. We can use offsets now, so we can use our Z offset to kind of push this further in. Let's go ahead and turn on transparency so we can kind of embed this in our mesh a little bit more. And now we can use our rotation to kind of go through and do X rotation. Yeah, so we can kind of stack these this way. Let's go into solo mode here. So we can kind of stack these this way. And also, let's go ahead and say this is all proportional. So I think if we go through here, let's turn on show placement again. I'm going to do a little test. Control Shift, isolate this one. I'm going to go to unmeshed mesh center. If I scale this down, it will scale that down. So what I could conceivably do is I could go through here. Let's try this. Scale this one down. No. Not going to work because it's going to want to keep them all the same. So what we're going to do instead of proportional, we're going to say fit. And then now we're going to go through here. Let's show placement. And then I'm going to say, let's crank up our size. And now we can go through here and we can scale in our, ooh, it looks like our Z rotation needs to be 0. So we can actually scale in the physical plane to kind of scale in our overall meshes. Because each of these meshes is an instance, and I'm telling it to fit those polygons. And then I'm cranking the scale up too much. Now I can go through here manually, and I can change all of their lengths a little bit. I can skinny them out a little bit. I can change their width a little bit here instead of changing their overall polygons here. And the reason I'm doing this is if I go through here now and grab just this one, and I scale this one down, that will actually give me a smaller vertebrae. So, and I'm using this geometry to control that. So I can go through here, and I can say, let's just mask this group here, or this polygon, and I can go through and just manually, so I still have all of the nanomesh properties I want, but I can manually go through here and just manipulate these polygons just by masking. Go to Unmesh Mesh Center, and now I can just go through here and kind of finagle these around. Now at this point, maybe it is easier just to go through and, you know, manually tweak all these. The only reason I might consider using this is it's kind of cool if you did need to go back and make a change at any point and you wanted to be, oops, let's turn off Dynamesh. You wanted to be like, oh, you know what? I don't even like this shape. Let me go in here to edit mesh. And now at any point, I can go through here and be like, I really wanted to add a hole down here. So I can go through here and do like an inset polygroup all region. Do another inset here, and then Q mesh. And hold down Shift, pull that up, and then do another crease PG. There we go. So now, when I go out of Edit Mesh, all of these have been updated. So if you ever want to do that, or if you wanted to do something super crazy like brush, insert, industrial parts. Not that this is super crazy, but another thing that you could do is just go through here and just start detailing it up. But the crazier part would be going here to edit mesh, industrial parts, and then just swapping this out for a new mesh entirely. So now all of these, he just has bolts down his back. So that's why I like Nanomesh. However, going through here and kind of finagling this into the right positions, at this point, if it's close enough and the mesh is about what you like, I would maybe possibly go in here and say, you could do inventory 1 to mesh, or you can go up here to geometry, convert BPR to geo, and then now you got real geometry. You can go through here, you can get rid of these planes, delete hidden, and then now you can keep your polygroups if you want to. I'm going to go through here and do an auto groups. So now I can just manually go through here and then just control tap these and then get access to individually. And if I wanted to like alt drag out, oops, or control drag out copy, I can. So I don't know, something interesting maybe to kind of go through and finagle these around. And then because these are, I mean, you could go through with your move brush on all those individual planes that we had earlier with the array mesh. And you could like move all those together as well with topological brush. And because of the settings we had in our array mesh, that probably would have worked fine. But what we can also do is, since this is all just real geometry now, we can just manually go through with a big move brush and do what we need to do. And just make sure with your move brush here, we have, is a brush? Nope. Brush, auto masking, topological. You can even turn that range down if you want to. So now we can go through here, and another thing too, we can go through here and we can just scale these down and scale these up. Just going to unmesh mesh center, let's turn off X symmetry, and just scale these up, and then when we get up towards here, we can go ahead and scale these down a little bit. Or overall, we can go in here with our pinch brush, and we can go, let's turn on X symmetry for this. Yoink, and yoink. And then we can go through here with our move brush, and we can say, move all of them together. And now, close enough for government work. Let's go ahead and get rid of the skin here. And now we have a spine working. And then the scapula will be easy, the hips will be easy, and the rest of it's just kind of like blocky shapes and wires and stuff. Cool, let me back up here real quick. Let's see. Gonna learn Zbrush Things tutorial, super good, clear, easy to understand, excellent. Glad the videos are working out. And also for a lot of people too, if you're ever in here watching something and it's like, boy, you talk too fast. It's right here into the gear, playback speed. I know it makes me sound kind of stupid, but at the same time, I almost always exclusively watch playback videos at 2x speed. So if I'm watching like Joseph Druss or Paul Gaber or something, or Ask Zbrush, it's always 2x speed. So whichever's easier. Any particular tablet you recommend? I can only recommend the one I use. I use this at work and at home, although those are both the same now. Intuos Pro Medium Pen Tablet. I don't use anything super fancy. Cool. Korea, excellent. Cool, yeah, I'm doing good. Hope everybody else is doing good too. Except the extrusion steps, I'll do you one better. My ArtStation page here, under that ZBrush for ideation, there's a whole video on nothing but ZModeler functionality. Oh no, that's okay, we'll get that back. ZModeler. Always save often, by the way. Somewhere in here, let's see. ZModeler Basics, video 32 in the ZBrush for ideation will walk you through the basics of ZModeler. Better than me doing it live. I might forget something. i3 4GB RAM good enough to start learning ZBrush, or i5 8GB is a must? No. In fact, so I'm doing the, so this is overkill for ZBrush specifically, but if you're going to do a lot of stuff with ZBrush, oh, here's a sneak peek of some videos we might be coming out with at some point. A little stylized lady. But here's our recovered Z tool here. Let's grab that. But I'm using the AMD Ryzen Threadripper 3970X, so 32 core processor, and the boost speed and just the regular clock speed on these is fine for single core or fewer core applications. So the Gen 3 is really amazing on that. And then I think I dropped down to 64GB of RAM actually. I honestly don't remember. Let me see. Properties. Nope. This PC properties. Yeah, we're at 64GB of RAM now. But 3600 speed. But ZBrush will run on anything. You might have to be a little more frugal as far as like you probably won't it probably won't be that fun to work on like a 60 million polygon mesh, but if you split it up into subtools and you have subdivisions here and you use dynamic subdivision for your modeling and you keep things nice and light. In fact, this is something I always like to bring up as far as like being a little bit more frugal is this Zbrush Summit. So you go to my Zbrush Summit on my ArtStation page. Here's my actual presentation, and then this thing, this little cinematic guy, this guy right here, he is 15 megabytes in Zbrush. He's literally nothing. He's a bunch of array meshes and dynamic subdivs. So his entire body here is nothing but 15.5 meg of actual disk space. So again, all this right here, it's just simple geometry. So you can get away with quite a lot as long as you're, not necessarily having to work frugal, but it's a lot easier to work with some things if you use it like array mesh and nanomesh and stuff like that, and dynamic subdivisions. Let's see. Yeah, cool. Excellent. Good. Yeah, and if you do want to do concurrent, like you're doing a lot of different programs all together, or if you're streaming at the same time as doing Unreal or rendering in the background with Keyshot and stuff like that, more cores is probably going to help you out a little bit there because it'll distribute those workloads much better. So, okay, so let's just continue on here. Now that scapula piece is going to be nice and simple. And you know what? Let's use a different technique for this. I'm going to hide everything except for this. Yeah, okay. So we're going to go in here. We're going to go Insert Z-Sphere. We're going to take the Z-Sphere here, and we're going to hit X Symmetry, scale this down, and we're going to stick this right in the middle of the body there. Oops. W, middle of the body, just out of the way. And then we're going to go into, I guess just do it the right way. Topology, edit topology, turn off transparency. Let's switch to like a medium gray and maybe matte cap pearl. And speaking of this, if you also want another intro to ZBrush option, besides my besides ZBrush Radiation or Intro to ZBrush Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and besides all of that same stuff on my YouTube channel under my playlist page, you can also go to ArtStation Learning, and I have a, if you just type in ZBrush here, we have an Intro to ZBrush series here. It's 17 hours it looks like. I didn't think it was that long. And this is like 3 parts of just all the basic ZBrush, and at the end we have little me, little young teenage me that you make. So we'll go ahead and we have X Symmetry turned on, and I'm going to say, let me open up my Z-Spheres menu here. Edit topology on. Adaptive skin is another menu you'll want to open. Density down. So when we do the preview, and then Dynamesh resolution off, so we just get the actual geometry we want to play with here. And then we're just going to go through here. We're just going to plot where I want this geometry to go. And actually, this one, okay. Now that I look at this, probably Z-sphere topology would have been better, but I think we'll be okay. So through here, I'm going to go ahead and just put in a hole through here, and let's go ahead and connect these up. Again, just super simple geometry only. This gives you more control, I suppose, through here. So I'll go ahead and go across here, and you know what, let's put in a point here and a point here, and I can hit W, and I can just kind of move that across my geometry there. So if I like this, which I don't just yet, let's go ahead and go through here, and we'll go down. And then we'll go out. Okay, so let's say I like this geometry. I'm going to hit A to give me a preview, and I'm going to look at it. I'm going to be like, okay, this geometry is doing something weird. So I'm going to go back into draw mode Q, and we're going to put some lines in here, because again, it's configuring those n-cons to be something I don't necessarily want. And then we'll go in here to move brush and kind of move those down. So A, you know what, I can probably live with that, or I can fix it. Here, here. There we go. So here's my geometry I want. Now, if I did want a hole in here, I can try and force it, but I'm not going to. So I'm just going to say, you know what, give me an adaptive skin. That's under your adaptive skin here. Make adaptive skin. This is our Z-sphere. We can keep that around, but I'm going to go ahead and insert that skin Z-sphere. It's throughout there. Hide that Z-sphere in case we want to use it for something else. And then now I have geometry in here. So I can go through here, I can get rid of these. We can say delete a single poly, and now we have this polygroup information. Now the reason I was saying it might work better if we use Topology Brush is that I didn't actually want every single point to be snapping to the mesh. Now I could have, let's hold down Shift and turn my Z intensity way down. What I could have done, I'm just going to smooth these out, is done the outline first and then just shot across there, but I think we're okay. So this is my basic scapula that I like. And I can go through here and we can say, hey, drink of water. Excuse me. Qmesh, polygroup ball. I'm going to pull out a little bit. Here, see it flips on both sides. When you do this, it's going to turn on display properties double automatically. So if you turn that off, you're going to see one of these should be kind of flipped. I guess not. Excuse me. My voice is going. I want to make sure that's the same on both sides, basically. So I'm going to do a quick mirror and weld. Or in this case, just geometry, modify topology, mirror and weld. And then now I can go through here and I say Qmesh polygroup all, hold down Shift, and just pull along those surface normals to kind of thicken it up a bit. And in this case, I actually want to drop this underneath the skin here. So now on this one, instead of doing a crease PG, because I can do that, I can do crease PG and then hit, and actually it creases my polygroups automatically. So we're going to turn on dynamic, and that's the result I get. Instead, I'm just going to run a crease tolerance. Underneath your geometry crease menu, you can run a crease tolerance to get those corners, and then we're going to do a quick crease edge. And let's go ahead and crease all these corner edges here. And we'll go down the back side and do that too. So now, when we go through here and we kind of play around with, let's go ahead and make these corners sharper. Move. So now what we can do is when we have this shape, we can go back in here and we can say crease level 2, smooth subdiv of 3. And you know what, let's do crease level 3, smooth subdiv of 4. And that can be our scapula shape in here. And in fact, you can actually go through here with like H-polish on this geometry, and you can actually get rid of some of these lines if you don't like them necessarily. You can use your sculpting brushes to go through and make your sub-D meshes. Now this is semi-dangerous. You don't want to do this. You want to make sure you hit Shift-D to make sure you're not doing something crazy with the underlying geometry. But in this case, I think we're okay. And then even through here, you know, since you're working with such simple geo, it's easy enough to maintain kind of a smooth surface without paying the price of, you know, having a ton of polygons here. Now, in this case, it might be just as easy to go through and like just do a sculpt of this shape. It's nothing radical. Now, one thing I might want to do is we'll go through here and we'll do a geometry crease, and underneath bevel here, if you just start doing this, you just pull this up. I'm going to do Shift-D. Oh, that's a bit much. It's going to give you this result. So wherever you had a crease, it'll put a bevel. I don't want that. I actually want to hold down Control and put in my bevel width. So now when I do Shift-D, you're going to see this is the result I'm getting. So again, Control, and we'll go ahead and pop those out. So now, again, we'll just run another crease tolerance here. I should grab all my corners again. And need to help it out here a little bit. So again, crease edge, just boop, boop. There we go. So that'll give us this type of shape. Let's go ahead and help this out a little bit more. There we go. And again, if you want to do smooth subdiv of 4 isn't doing it for you, smooth subdiv of 5, and maybe crease level of 2, crease level of 4, yeah. But if you did want to do like crease level of 2, you could still manually go through here and do like insert single edge loop and just pull towards that corner and just tighten these corners up manually just by adding more geometry into those corners. So kind of up to you. Yeah, so shoulder blades. Cool. Yes, that was a teenage me. If you watch that series, you'll see me pulling up reference. Boy, big Sam's Club glasses and not a whole lot of meat on those bones. Let's see. Catching up. Sorry if I missed something. In other words, yeah. Oh, okay, everybody's got a bunch of hardware suggestions, so great. Hey, we got 100 messages today with Restream Chat. Zbrush H Ngon, so it completes them, I guess. Yes, so when you're doing your Z-sphere retopology, it will go ahead and guess what you're trying to do. So if you want to make sure it's doing what you want to do, you go ahead and put those points in. Cool, yeah. ZBrush is actually pretty forgiving. You can run ZBrush on a toaster if it has a CPU. You just can only push it so far, or you might get built in some lag if you're working on a really low-end machine, but you'd be surprised what you can get away with in ZBrush. They do a lot of tricks to make it really, what's the word I'm looking for? Really cool. Cool. Yes. So here, let's go ahead and put in just a few more things really quickly. Let's go ahead and let's say, let's turn our skin back off and turn this back on, and then we got our spine. So here's all of our robotic pieces. So for the body in particular, we could, I always try to steal as much as possible. So if I wanted to put in some just bigger shapes here, let's turn on transparency, turn off line. So in here, it looks like there's some like big, broad shapes in here, and then down the back of the leg and maybe in the arm. It does appear to be a little blockier, but some of it does look a little bit more organic. So for the blocky stuff, I'll just Z-model it, but for like stuff like the maybe the forearm in here looks a little bit more organic. So I'm just going to steal this geometry. And again, I like to keep this separate here, so we're going to say, yeah, let's do this. Edge loop, mask border, isolate, delete hidden, zero mesh half, depth size down to 0. Again, we just want nice even quads, and we'll go ahead and turn on line so we can see what we're doing here. And again, if we want to pull this out to a little bit more corners, because we don't want necessarily kidney bean shapes, but we don't mind organic edges down the side, so it doesn't need to be a rectangle or anything. Although if you wanted to make a rectangle with these bounding boxes, you just got to go in and delete that geometry. But I think this will be fine. Perfect. So now, in fact, if you wanted to follow the body even more, you could just go back into projectile and just snap those verts there. If you want to simplify this, you can go through here, insert single edge loop, hold down Alt, and get rid of these pieces here if you wanted to. But I think we're doing okay. I think this will be fine. So now very quickly, QMesh polygroup all, or all polygons, go down here, turn off double, and then we'll go ahead and pull these in. Display properties flip, which we've done a number of times today. And in fact, let's say, no, let's do this. Let's do an group by normals, and then mirror and weld. And then this one here, we're going to say QMesh polygroup all. And just kind of pull out. Let's turn on transparency go so we can get in there. Pull this out a little bit here and here. And then on the underside, we can say QMesh polygroup island. Let's do this. Do another group by normals. No. Is there a fancier way I can do this? Sometimes brute force is their best bet. So go through here and alt drag over here and just pull this in. And it's the same thing over here. So we want this geometry to kind of cup the underlying area here. So now when I do, I'm just going to do, instead of a crease PG, we're just do a crease tolerance with the tolerance level set at like, I don't know, 54. And now when I turn on dynamic, we can uncrease these corners. Another thing we could do, let's do this. Let's do group by normals again. I'm going to take these polygroups here. And grab these ones again. I'm going to say delete hidden. If I wanted this to be rounded, I can just literally go in here and say insert single edge loop, hold down Alt, and just get rid of those. Let's do a quick mirror, mirror, and weld. Something like that. And then hold down Alt. There we go. And Control W, uncrease all. And then now we can pull in that QMesh polygroup island. And same over here. And flip. And crease PG. And dynamic, crease level 2, smooth out 03. And that way I have just geometry kind of hanging out in kind of semi-organic shapes. And then again, just our move brush, or you can use your Gizmo. So now, we can still use this as kind of our bounding box here. So when we put in our hips, this looks like just kind of a modified cylinder, or we could even start with a sphere. So let's put a sphere right in here. And again, I'm just looking for the overall shape, so we're going to go ahead and say split mask points. And I'll turn this back on here. So these are kind of like the hip fan shape that I'm seeing. Kind of scoops through here. So let's do this. Let's hold down Control Shift, and we'll get rid of, actually we'll do this. We'll say trim, delete hidden, W, unmesh mesh center. We'll squash this a bit. So that's the overall shape that we're looking for. And then through the front here, instead of trim, let's just use slice. So here, and then here, this is our shape. And then from the top here, we can say, now this isn't going to be perfectly mirrored, but that's okay because we just do mirror and weld, delete hidden, zero mesh half, some new geo, maybe and even through here in the middle, looks like it's cleared out, so that's easy enough to do. Delete, boink. And then once we have QMesh polygroup all, we'll Q the mesh this out just a bit and then hold down Shift and pull this in. We have thickness here, so if I did want to go through here and say, you know what, I don't like these polygons, just QMesh those straight through, and then I'll go ahead and get rid of them. Or I could say, you know what, I don't like those polygons, but I want to borrow some of this geometry. So I can say QMesh polygroup all, hold down Control, pop out a copy of this. Let's do this, hold down Control and then tap Alt, so we get a new polygroup here. I'm going to isolate this, split hidden. And then now I can go through here and I can say let's QMesh this out. So I'm kind of doing a layered effect on my hips here. Let's go ahead and hide everything but these two. So now what I can do is in this underneath one, I can say, you know what, I don't want, we can say QMesh a single poly. So it's like I don't want these, and you know what, this outer ring here is taking care of that shape. So I can go through here, I can say let's go ahead and get rid of the shape here and the shape here. And then on the top here, let's say, you know what, maybe I don't want these for the top piece. So we're kind of just doing, we're kind of layering these two objects so that they're a little bit more complementary to each other. So maybe these I don't need. And that's one of the cool things about QMesh is that it'll go ahead and sew up those edges for me, so I don't have to sit there and, you know, do any stupid bridging. I could bridge those two. If I want to smooth this out, we could just do a quick bridge, connected polys here, oops, to here. Let's do a quick weld points under geometry modified topology weld points, just in case anything's gotten a little weird in there. It looks like there's a thick edge. Oh yeah. Well, we could do this. We could say delete single poly here, here, and then bridge edges. And again, your mouse might be easier. Sorry, I keep shaking that camera. Very unstable table here. And if you're like, oh, I ruined my polygroups, no big deal. Just go in here again to your group by normals and then geometry modified topology mirrored weld. And if you want your single polygroup down the middle to be the same, just go back here, grab these two, Control W, and you're off to the races. So let's go ahead and say bring everything back. Obviously, we want the hips information. Let's go into auto masking. Make sure we don't have anything masked. Again, since we're just pulling around relatively simple geometry, we can still maintain our fairly smooth forms. Sorry, just kind of moving the stuff around here. Good enough. So let's run a crease PG or just a crease tolerance. Why is it always on there like 30? Uncrease all. Crease, dynamic, crease level of 2, smooth subdiv of 3, and then same thing for this one. Uncrease all. Crease level 2, smooth subdiv of 3. And you know what? Let's go through here and we'll say crease as of complete. Crease level of 3, smooth subdiv of 4. Not a whole lot of shots through here. Oh, I got my chat blocking a lot of that. And then through a lot of this also looks like, let's go in here and on, do I just have some geometry just hanging out without subdivisions? Yeah, so I'm gonna take the spine here. I'm gonna go to my custom insert mesh brush menu. We're gonna drop a cube mid on either side, hit W, scooch this over, split mask points underneath your split menu under your subtools, and let's turn on LSIM. And this is where I like to do a quick save, and hit the comma key, and then reload from my last quick save. Whenever I start splitting stuff off, I'll usually go through and just do a quick save and grab this. So we have LSIM turned on, so now we can scale across that local axis a little bit easier, and now we can simply just start putting in the big boxy shapes. So if I'm not going to steal any information or have to be too concerned about, let's hit W and just boop right down that normal, and then unmesh mesh center. You know, if it is going to end up just being a boxy shape, it's easy enough just to kind of put that boxy shape in there and just do some simple Z-modeler tasks to kind of get the overall look that we're going for here. So again, through here, above the knee, and then maybe scale it out this way. And if I wanted to go through here and then say, okay, let's do this. Bevel, edge loop complete, yoink, and then we'll say, you know what, let's slide, edge loop complete. We'll slide this down, and we'll say insert, single edge loop here, hold down Alt, and we'll say Q-mesh, single poly. Actually, let's do this. Let's do insert single edge loop, Alt, and now we can just Q-mesh this one straight back. And then if we want to, we can say slide this edge up and this edge down, and gee, what a cool shape that is. So you know what? Let's do this. Let's do a group by normals, mirror and weld, and then we'll go back down here and do our little crease control trick. Now, here's something you could do if you don't want to actually put that in there. Let's go down here to our dynamic, and because this is a nice boxy shape, instead of doing or in addition to doing a smooth subdivision if we want, we can also do a Q grid. So we can change that coverage on the fly, and that'll give us that shape built in. We can also do Shift-D to get rid of that. We have some kind of corner issues here that I'm not thrilled about. Let's also try, you can also take it out of bevel and do a rounded chamfer if you wanted to round those shapes out a little bit. And then, or you can do flat subdivision. So if we turn our Q grid off, and flat subdiv in conjunction with smooth subdiv basically just like creases every edge, essentially, is what you're getting at that point. So you can go through here and you can do that. But anyway, Q grid might be our best choice. And if you are going to do a bevel and not a chamfer, you know, you're going to get nice flat edges. But if you want to switch over to chamfer, you round it, and you can also mix in a little bit of smooth subdivision to kind of smooth out those transitions a little bit too if you want. So that's and that's just a preview. Let's switch back over here so you can see it. Duh. Okay, so again, if we want to get rid of some of this boxiness, we can unmask these and then just kind of taper that in a little bit. If we want, we can also crease this, but we don't need to crease because we're doing Q-mesh. So anyway, that's kind of that shape here. And what else we got? We got some legs. We got some more legs. So here's what we're going to do. Say W, drag out a... Why do I think that's Alt? I think there's other programs that do Alt. Split on mask points. Alt tap this one. Let's go ahead and say mirror this in the Y. Whoops, we lost it. No big deal. Go in here and grab it. And because this is a maybe a slightly different shape that needs to maybe bend a little bit more. We can go through here now. We'll do Shift D, and again, let's do a quick save. Sorry, I get paranoid. And we can modify this shape. So we're using the same basic geometry, but it's easy enough to go through here and say, you know what, let me Q mesh a poly, and we'll get that geometry back, and let's say, you know what, let's slide this edge. We can even these out again, and let's say, you know what, let me quickly go through here, and you know what's this? Alt, insert, get rid of those, and now insert multiple edge loops. So we can kind of get a little more resolution in there. If you want to get really fancy, I mean, at this point, I'd probably just be like, just move it. Another option is let's take X, go out of X symmetry, let's get rid of this side here. Let's hit W, let's go right down that axis center. And in fact, if we want to, we can hold down Alt and just tap right there, and then axis center here. Then we go in here, and we could say bend curve. This is probably my favorite deformer. So you can go through here and add resolution. You can choose your axis, so down the axis, add resolution as much as you need. We don't need that much, just maybe 3. And now you can go through here, and you can just move these things around in a very nice way. And you can go down here, and you can say, you know what? Let's twist this around if we want to make a helix, or we can scale it down. And that's really what I was looking for. And then again, you can grab this point here, and we can kind of make this match a little bit better. Hooray! Look at that. So now we have this geometry. Okay, we'll go into solo mode here. And in this one, we don't even need to put a new geometry on the other side. But let's say we want to do this Q mesh and this Q mesh a poly, and sometimes it doesn't want to play nice, so we'll do it one at a time. So this one here, yay. This one here, yay, because it's pushing along the surface normal. So let's try one, or this way. Boy, it really doesn't want to do this, does it? Think. It gets a little bit curvy, so what we can do is we can go hold down Control-Shift-Alt, delete hidden, close holes. No, let's help it out a little bit. Bridge, edges. You know, sometimes you've got to go in here and put in the effort. Okay, let's do a quick group by normals. And then we could do our trick again, but this case we'll just turn on D for dynamic again, and that'll give us the same dynamic properties we had for the other mesh. Now, like I said before, we could just do a mirror and weld across the x-axis and put this over here. Now we have turn X symmetry back on. Or if you just want to work on this side and you want to do any modeling in here, that other side's going to get in the way. What I would suggest doing is going down here to Array Mesh and say, Array Mesh, lock position, lock size, reset, mirror in the X, and then now we just have an array mesh sitting there. So if you want to make any changes, it's like, oh, this is getting in the way. Let's turn array mesh off, and then now you can go through here and we can do like a inset polygroup all region, boink, and then say Q mesh polygroup all, hold down shift, and then hit D for dynamic. And it's kind of messy with our settings here. Dynamic, smooth off, bevel. You know, and when in doubt, you can go in here to smooth subdiv. So crease level of 3, smooth subdiv of 4, just crease here, and then that's the result we'll get. Whenever it thinks it's getting tricky on you, just go over here to weld points. There we go. Okay, and then again, all we need to do is just turn array mesh, have array mesh over here. So now you can just turn that on and off as needed. Okay, hopefully I'm not going in anybody's stream. I'm going to go ahead and head out. Yes, it will be uploaded 2 places. I'm going to upload it onto, eventually it's going to be uploaded onto Pixelogic's channel under the Pavlovich workshop here. And if you want to go back through my previous workshops, you can go through here. And also underneath YouTube, my YouTube channel, I'm just going to put the video here. So it'll end up under the playlists. It'll just be under here under videos, but also under playlists, live stream full episodes. It'll be there. But give it a minute because I need to upload it. Frame edge to put a curve brush. Can you choose which vertex is the first? No, I don't think so. That's why I did the brush with it flipped either way, so that I could go, oh, you know what? I want it the other way. I don't have to. I don't. You have a start and an end point for sure. I just don't know how to choose which is a start and which is end. You can use Z curves helper if you want to use Z spheres to make those curves, but yeah, well, 4 a.m. PST, but 6 a.m. where I am in Austin, Texas. Best way to sculpt fur. If you go to my YouTube channel, I think we have a fur. Nanomesh fur, fiber mesh fur. There is some fur in here, but also probably hair techniques or VDM displacement is probably your best bet. So if you go in here and you say hair, you got our Dragon Ball Z hair and hair creation techniques and controlling curves and stuff like that. Here's hair detail cleanup for some older stuff. So Zbrush sometimes written error that's counter when trying to load a tool whenever trying to open the Z tool. It might be corrupted. Maybe. If you do have a continuous, you can put in a ticket from the Pixelator website, and they'll get back to you. They're really good about that. Yeah, ArtStation link is, oops. Right here. And, you know, my YouTube channel has a lot of the same information, but on ArtStation it has it kind of bundled up in here. So if you wanted like Mechanical Skull series, all 3 series are right here in a row, and just click in the upper right-hand corner. And it's also got some other goodies. For example, I do have this boot tutorial on my YouTube, but you also have like this little insert or this little walkthrough right here that'll walk you through the steps step by step. But anyway, excellent. Thanks, everybody. And I'll see you this Thursday on my channel. It'll be on my YouTube or my Twitch stream, Pav Mike. But yeah, so we'll finish. You know what? We'll finish this up. Maybe put him in an environment a little bit, or another prop, and I think that'll be it for this guy. And I got another sci-fi thing I want to go over to. Cool, awesome. Thanks everybody. I'm gonna head out later.